Bhaktivedanta Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Radhe Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Namo Nayam Shri Guru Param Shri Rupananda Ajarasasyam Jayanadena Pampapamba Shri Guru Charanam Vande Naman Prishchaya Utare Rupanu Bhaktivedanta Kripamurti Shri Krishna Leela Katane Sadakshamodari Madhuri Naishyitam Param Varanyam Purusham Mahantam Narayanam Tam Shri Sadhana Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Shri Gaur Bhattare Jai Rup Sanatana Bhatta Ravinash Shri Gopal Bhatta Dasana Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama First of all, the Lord's view for spiritual masters. Glory Shri Bhaktivedanta Sri Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Glory Shri Bhaktivedanta Sri Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Entire Rupalakali and all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis present. So, until yesterday we heard about this Brahman realization. How it is the preliminary stage of spiritual understanding. It is not the complete understanding, it is a partial understanding. Because the Brahman effulgence is only a partial representation of Sri Bhagavan, the rays of his body. They are not his full, it is not his full personality. It is only the rays emanating from his body. So in this process, realization of the eternal form of Bhagavan is not available. The form that is imagined at the time of meditation worship is not eternal. It is imaginary. So this is called Pancha Upasak. Pancha Upasaks means they imagine a form of God. They imagine that he is either Brahma, Vishnu, Surya, Durga, Ganesh, or they imagine 5 forms. And then they say that once you become perfect in your meditation, then you give up these 5 forms and you merge into this impersonal Brahma. So this is a speculative process. We are also Pancha-Upasaks. Why? We worship 5 forms. What is that? Nam Krishna. We worship Krishna as appeared in the form of his name. Then we worship Bhagavad Krishna. Krishna has appeared as the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we worship Gaura Krishna. Krishna has appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then we worship Radha Krishna. Means Radha Krishna Yugal. So they say we also worship the 5 forms of divinity. We are the real Pancha-Upasaks, Prabhupada would say. Gaudiya Vaishnavas are the real Pancha-Upasaks because they worship in this form. Also they worship the Pancha-tattva. Here also the 5 eternal truths are worshipped. So they say we are also worshipping this Pancha-rasa. What is this Pancha-rasa? Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. These 5 rasas. So one who worships these 5 rasas, he is also Pancha-Upasak. So Pancha-Upasak does not necessarily mean that one is only a worshipper of either Vishnu, Durga, Mahesh, Ganesh, in this way. So, although then there is the other process which is called Paramatma Darshan, where one worships the Paramatma within the heart. So even this, to the cultivation of impersonal Jnana, still it is not perfect. Ashtanga Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Karma Yoga, they are all included within this process. Like you do various body postures, like Surya Namaskar. You do Surya Namaskar, you do Kapalbhati. What is Kapalbhati? You go different. You get inhalation, exhalation, all these things. So all these things are helpful for the body, but in relation to the soul and Paramatma, you have to follow a very strict process. Like when Swami Maharaj went to the West, there were many yogis who went before him. And they were teaching this Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali Yoga. Swami Maharaj said, if you really want to practice yoga, like how Krishna has described in the Bhagavad Gita, then you have to go to the forest. And there in the forest, you have to keep a nice asana, made of deer skin or tiger skin, sit on the asana, maintain strict celibacy, eat very little, very rigid lifestyle, and then concentrating your mind on the tip of your nose, then you can hope to practice yoga. Not that yoga means that you can lead any kind of lifestyle, unregulated lifestyle. You can eat whatever you want, you can behave in whichever way you want, and then you can do yoga. So this is not yoga, this is something else. Swami Maharaj would say, they are only fat reducing yogis. Those who are teaching such kind of yoga. Only reduce your fat, they make you more lean and thin. But if you really want to understand your relationship with Paramatma, then you have to go so much more deep. No? So therefore, this is superior, this Paramatma darshan, more than Brahman darshan, but still it is also not complete. So although Raja and Adhyatma Yoga follows this process to a certain extent, in most cases it is merely included within the process of Jnana. So in this way, it is said that the philosophical conclusion is that the realization of the Supersoul cannot be called Shuddha Bhakti. So even if you realize Paramatma within your heart, it cannot be called pure Bhakti. It is only a partial understanding. So after the creation of this universe, this we heard yesterday, that Bhagavan, he enters into it as Paramatma. And who is the Supersoul of the entire universe? That is Garbhodashaya Vishnu. And who is the Supersoul present within every living entity? That is Paramatma, Shirodashaya Vishnu. So, out of these three manifestations of the absolute truth, it is only the manifestation of Bhagavan's personal form that is the object of bhakti. So you see here, when Bhagavan Krishna appears in his personal form, that is the fullest manifestation of his divinity. Not this Brahman effulgence, not Paramatma. Only his Swarup, that is his fullest form. Because the Vedic scriptures, everyone except that the Vedic scriptures, they came from the breathing of Vishnu. It is said that when Vishnu was taking a deep breath, and then when he was exhaling, then the Vedas manifested. So it is very simple that if he's taking a deep breath, it means he has a nose. If he has a nose, then he has ears, then he has eyes, then he has a face, then he has hands, then he has legs. So how can you deny his form? Even the Brahmavadis, they accept that the Vedas came from the breathing of Vishnu. So then how can they deny his existence? Then saying he's formless. So in this way, when Aishwarya manifests, then he is known as Narayan. And when this Madhurya manifests, then he is known as Krishna. Means, when the degree of sweetness is greater than the degree of opulence, then he is known as Krishna. And if the exhibition, the manifestation of opulence is more than Madhurya, then he is known as Narayan. Like we see Krishna when he is in Vrindavan, all the Vrajavasis, none of them know that he is God. Does Nanda and Yashoda do they ever think that Krishna, our son, is God? Never. They just think he is our son. Sometimes Nanda Baba, you even tell Krishna, you carry my shoes on your head and you bring them. And Krishna is carrying his shoes on his head. Sometimes Yashoda will even twist Krishna's ear. Hey, why are you always lying? Why are you always stealing butter from the homes of the gopis? Twist his ear. And we see, sometimes the gopis will even chastise Krishna. That you are a cheater. No, you are black inside out. Your heart is also black and you are also black. You are a cheater. You will chastise. They'll say many things. They'll say that you are a bumblebee, stealing honey from every flower. Means what? You're enjoyed with every girl, every gopi, and then you go to another gopi. So they'll chastise him in this way in so many ways. So this is his madhuryata. This is his sweet human-like pastimes. But in Vaikuntha you see Narayan, he does not perform any such leelas. There he is Param-Purush, Param-Brahma. He is Bhagavan himself. There are all the Vaikuntha Vasis, they are serving him with folded hands, reciting this Purushottama prayers, Vishnu Sahasranam. Like we see when Gopakumar, he went to Vaikuntha, there he had darshan of Narayan. And he wanted to stay with Narayan for the whole day. He wanted to massage Narayan, he wanted to fan him, he wanted to give him something to eat or drink. But then the other Vaikuntha Vasis, they told Gopakumar, no, leave, no, you cannot stay here the whole day. So Gopakumar said, no, I just want to stay with him. Let me stay with him. Why are you telling me to leave? And they said, no, you have to leave. Gopikumaar said, why not? Why can't I stay with him? Then they said, because Lakshmi is going to come now. Only she has this adhikar of massaging his feet. No one else. Only she can hold his feet to her chest and she can massage. No one else can. So then Gopikumaar had to leave. So this is Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha actually Narayan, he also displays pastimes as Krishna. There also he is playing on his flute. And then Narayan is pretending that he is going cowherding. All these things. But still that is not like so pleasing to the Vrajavasis. Vrajavasis, they want to give the remnants to Krishna. They want to fight with Krishna, they want to wrestle with him. Sometimes they will abuse him. Sometimes if Krishna cannot wake up early in the morning, then Madhumangal he says, hey, what are you doing? You're still sleeping. Wake up. And he push him. Open your eyes. You're so lazy. Who can behave like that in Vaikuntha? So therefore there are two manifestations of Paramatma. Even in the spiritual world, there are two divisions. There is Aprakrit Jagat and Paravyom. Aprakrit Jagat is Golok Vrindavan. And Paravyom is the lower part of the spiritual sky, where all the Vaikuntha planets are present. Now, when we speak of Vaikuntha, it doesn't mean that there's only Narayan Loka. There is also Nrsimha Loka. There is also Matsya Loka, Kurma Loka. And all the devotees who are serving all these different avatars of Krishna incarnations, their bodies, their forms also resemble that particular incarnation. Like those who are serving Matsya Avatar, even they have the Sarupya Mukti. Means even their body is like Matsya. Means half their body is human and the lower part of the body is like a fish. If they are serving Kurma Avatar, then same thing. Half their body is human and the lower part of their body is like a tortoise. This is not some speculation, this is true. This is the meaning of Sarupya Mukti. Means you achieve a form similar to that of Bhagavan. And similarly, those who are serving in Vaikuntha, they are also four-handed like Narayan. Like when Gopakumar, he went to Vaikuntha, then he wanted to have darshan of Narayan. But every resident he would see of Vaikuntha, he would think that person is Narayan himself. And he would often pronounce to him, oh Narayan, oh Narayan. And that person would close his ears and say, oh Vishnu, Vishnu, don't say I'm Narayan, I'm his devotee. So he'd look at everyone looked exactly like Narayan. He'd often pronounce again and again. He'd say, don't say like that. And he's a bhakta. And then he saw that Narayan himself, he had this Kaustubh money, this Kaustubh jewel on his chest. So in Vaikuntha, the speciality is that only Narayan has this Kaustubh jewel and this Srivatsa mark. What is this Srivatsa mark? It is a golden line residing on the chest of Narayan. What does this golden line signify? It signifies Lakshmi Devi herself. Means Lakshmi has this golden line is residing on his chest. And this line is not present on the chest of any other bhakta. Nor is the Kaustubh money present there. This is only present on Narayan. So then Gopakumar realized that this is happening. And he went and he offered the house. But still he could not stay there. And after some time Gopakumar even left Vaikuntha. He left Vaikuntha and he proceeded to Ramaloka. Everything. So Sanatana Goswami has described everything. There is Bhagavad. So here, it is very important to realize that even though Krishna is present in his very sweet form in Braj, we should not think that there is no opulence in Braj, that there is only sweetness. Because if this is the case, if we deny the Aishwarya of Krishna and Vrindavan, then all his leelas, they become like an ordinary boy. Like if Krishna is stealing from the homes of the gopis, then people may say, all right, he is also stealing, and other boys, other babies are also stealing. So what is the difference between him and other babies? No, so at all times, even when he is manifesting his mother in Mahalila, his Aishwarya is also present there. You cannot deny. Like sometimes you see Krishna is stealing the clothes of the gopis, and someone may say, oh, this is just like an ordinary lover. He also desires to steal the clothes of women. No? So at all times his Aishwarya is present, his opulence. It is only a matter of manifesting itself or unmanifesting itself. Therefore, there are two considerations here, called Sarvagyata and Muktata. Sarvagyata means the omniscience of Krishna. Means, even when he is absorbed in all his leelas in Vrindavan, he is supremely omniscient. He knows his position as Bhagavan himself. Because as sadhakas, we are all praying to Krishna, as aspiring sadhakas. So if we are praying to him, then who is going to listen to our prayers? we are repeatedly praying to Krishna, oh Krishna, be merciful unto me, kindly bestow your merciful glance upon me, then who is listening? If Krishna is in Golok Vrindavan happily enjoying with all the Vrajavasis, then who is listening to our prayers? Paramatma. But for the devotee, this is very painful. If someone tells the devotee that Paramatma is listening to your prayers and not Krishna, then he will feel very pained at heart. And he'll think, what is he saying? He's saying Paramatma is listening to my prayers and not Krishna. How much pain he'll feel in his heart. But actually, Gurudev says Krishna is actually listening to your prayers. Although he's in Golok Vrindavan, he's listening. Why? Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself has said, Saranga Sharanagati Hoi Bejahar Tahar Prarthana Shule Srinanta Kumar. If one is surrendered in 6 ways, means accepting that which is favorable, rejecting that which is unfavorable, thinking of oneself to be very humble, thinking of Krishna as one's maintainer and protector. If one is surrendered in these 6 ways, then Krishna is surely bound to listen to his prayers. Even if he is engaging in leelas with all the gopis there. In Golok Vrindavan, he will listen to the prayers of the sincere sadhaka. Because this is his sarvagyata, his omniscience. And at the same time, there is muktata. Muktata means he forgets his own self. He is so much absorbed in his loving exchanges with the Brajavasis that he forgets that he is God. Because then if he thinks he is God, then all the leelas will come to an end. Then there will be rasavas. Then what need is there for Krishna to steal butter from the homes of all the gopis? What need is there for him to lie? What need is there for him to sneak out of his house in the middle of the night to meet the gopis? And all these leelas will come to an end. Therefore, there is muktata also. This is one characteristic of Bhagavan. One characteristic of his is that all those things which cannot be reconciled, which are actually opposite to each other, they are also reconciled inside him. In the material world, this is impossible. In the material world, you cannot speak the truth and you cannot speak a lie at the same time. You can only do one thing at a time. You can either speak the truth or you can speak a lie. How can you speak the truth and speak the lie at the same time? Doesn't make any sense. Never. You can do one thing at a time. But in the spiritual world, Bhagavan, he can speak the truth and he can also speak the lie at the same time. Like when he says, oh mother, I have not eaten any butter. So here he is speaking the truth and he is also speaking a lie. Lie means he has eaten. His friends have seen. And when he's saying that I have spoken the truth, he is also speaking the truth. Because he has not really eaten the butter. Because everything is his in the first place. Everything is already present within him. So what need is there for him to reach out to something and eat separately? So you see here, all these things which are opposite to each other, they are reconciled in Bhagavan. Like we say in the Shastras also, it is said, he is personal, at the same time he is impersonal. He has qualities, at the same time he is devoid of qualities. But in the material world, you cannot reconcile all these things. So all these things are achintya, inconceivable. So therefore, he is sarvagya and mukta, omniscient and forgetful at the same time. So despite being predominant almost everywhere, Aishwarya loses its charm in the presence of Madhurya. So you see, like actually from Tattva Vichar, if you see from the point of view of Tattva, then you'll see that Narayana and Krishna are the same, there is no difference between them. But if you see from Rasagat Vichar, from the viewpoint of Rasa, then you'll see that Krishna's position is far greater than the position of Narayana. And his position is even more attractive than Narayana. So that Narayana himself becomes attracted to him. He himself wants to have darshan of his beauty. No. There is that Leela, that pastime that happened in Dwaraka once, that one Brahmin, whenever a baby would be born to him, a newborn baby, that baby would immediately die. And the Brahmin, he lost like 10, 12 sons of his this way. Then that Brahmin, he started abusing Krishna. He started shouting at Krishna. That what sort of kingdom is Dwaraka, where the son passes away before his father? This is very inauspicious. A father is supposed to die before his son. But here you see, every son of mine is dying before me. Because in Ram's time, in Ram Rajya, in the kingdom of Ram, Ram had made a rule. He had said, no son can die before his father. He had said, no matter what. Only after the father has lived his life and only after the father has left his body, then after some time the son can leave his body. This was the rule that Ram had made, the rule of Dharma. But this Brahman, he was abusing Krishna. Just see, in Ram's time this was the rule. But in Krishna's time, every son of mine is dying before me. And he became very upset. So then Arjuna, he came there. He could not tolerate this Brahmin shouting at Krishna. Then he told the Brahmin, all right, when your wife is going to give birth to the next son, then you call me. Then one day before he's going to be born, I will protect your house from all sides. And then even Yam Maharaj will not be able to enter. None of the Yamdutas will be able to enter to take his son away. And the Brahmin said, all right. Then one day before his son was born, the Brahmin, he called Arjuna. He said, all right, Arjuna, you're a mighty warrior, you're a mighty Kshatriya. Come here, protect my son. And Arjuna said, all right. Then what did Arjuna do? He took his Gandhi, he took his bow and arrows, and he started he made a fence of arrows all around. He made a protective barrier all around the hut of the Brahmin. So much so that not even a ray of sun could enter inside. Covered it fully like a dome. Arjuna himself can imagine, the best archer. He made a dome of arrows all around the hut of the Brahmin. So then the Brahmin, he was happy. He was thinking, all right, now at least this son will survive. But then what happened? After the son was born, even he died. And the Brahmin, he started shouting at Arjuna, saying, even you could not save my son. No. Then Arjuna, he had previously made a promise to the Brahmin. He said, if I cannot protect your son, then I will give up my life. I will light a big fire, I will enter inside. Because for a Kshatriya, his pride is very important. If his pride is broken, then it is worse than death for Kshatriya. So Arjuna said, all right, if I cannot protect your son, I will give up my life. Then he said, okay Brahmin, true to my word now, I will give my life up. And he made a huge fire. As he was about to enter into it, and Krishna caught hold of his hand. He said, Arjuna, what are you doing? Why are you acting so impulsively? Why are you acting without thinking about the future, about the consequences? Come with me. And Krishna took Arjuna on his chariot. And he went through all the 7 layers of earth. All the 7 layers means the 5. You see, after you cross this earth, it is said there are 5 different layers. And each layer is 10 times more subtle than the previous layer. Means, after you cross the earth, there is the layer of water. And this layer of water is 10 times more subtle than the layer of earth. And then once you cross that layer of water, then you cross through the layer of fire. And that layer of fire is 10 times more subtle than water. Then you go through air, that is more subtle. And then you go through ether, that is more subtle. Then you go to this Brahmajyoti, this Virja Nadi. And then when you cross the Virja Nadi, there's the Brahmajyoti, the effulgence. And then you go all these different planets. Like after you cross all these different layers, you go to the Sapta Rishi Lok, Brahma Lok, Chanar Lok, Tapo Lok, then Brahma Lok, then Virja Nadi, then Brahman effulgence. So this is Vedic cosmology. No, not like the cosmology that we think of now. Yesterday I was reading on the news, like this NASA, this National American Space Agency, they want to send astronauts to the moon. Again they're saying, after 50 years, we're going to send the astronauts to the moon. They say, eventually we'll land on the moon. But you see, you cannot really land on the moon. No? Because according to their description, moon is something very lifeless. There is no life present on the moon. It's only dry. They've even taken pictures of the moon. But you see, moon is full of life. How? Even the rays of the moon, they give so much life to all the plants and vegetables. Like you see, there's one flower called the Kumuda. This Kumud flower, it opens its petals when the rays of the moon fall on it. So if the rays of the moon itself have so much potency to give life to all the plants, creepers, animals, then what to speak of the moon itself? Will the moon be lifeless? It's a very simple argument. No. The rays itself is giving so much life. No. Like you see, even the sun is always evaporating water. So therefore water must surely be present even in the sun planet. They say the sun is like a very fiery globe. There is no chance of water being present in the sun. But the sun is always evaporating so much water, then how can water not be present there in the sun? They may say many things, oh no, the sun is evaporating the water and clouds are formed by this water and then rain comes. But no, even the sun has water. This is Vedic cosmology. This is all being described in the Vedic scriptures. Because if we don't believe in these explanations, then ultimately everything is false. We'll have to believe in the scientists. You can only accept one point of view. You cannot accept both points of view. So here we see that as and when one crosses through all these different layers, Then he meets one predominating deity of every layer. Means in the layer of water, there is one predominating deity. The layer of fire has one predominating deity. And after only receiving his permission, then you can proceed to the next realm, the next strata. And then you can proceed to the next realm. You cannot force yourself through all these realms. It's not that you can just build a machine, like a rocket, and then you have a spacecraft, and then you can go to all these different realms. You cannot do like that. You'll have to have an adhikar, proper eligibility. So this way, Krishna and Arjuna, when they were on the chariot, they went through all these different layers. All these different layers. And then, there, they had darshan of who? Shirodakshay Vishnu. No? Who is the Paramatma present in everyone's hearts. So then, when Shirodakshay Vishnu saw Krishna, then he was so happy. Then Krishna, he asked Shirodakshay Vishnu, then, were you the one who was stealing all these babies away? And he said, yes. I was the one who was, every time this Brahman had a boy, I would steal that boy, that baby. So then Krishna said, why? Then Shirodakshay Vishnu, he said, because I wanted to have your darshan. He said, because I was so mesmerized by your beauty, I wanted to have your darshan. So here the question arises that he could have himself gone to earth and had darshan of Krishna. Why did he have to make Krishna come all the way here? Because Maharaj.Bhakti-tattva-viveka, they never descend to this world. They're always present in the spiritual world. They never descend. Only Krishna and his expansions or incarnations, they descend to this material world. And Narayana was always present there. So he said, now that I've had your darshan, and the darshan of your devotee, Arjuna, I feel very happy. That you can take all these babies back. And all those babies are returned back to the Brahman. And the Brahman became so happy. So this way you see, Narayana himself is always so desirous of having the darshan of Krishna. No, because the very aspect of sweetness is more beautiful than opulence. Like you see, there's a judge in the house. If there's one judge, what does he do? When he's in the courtroom, that time when he's in the court, he's very strict. This judge, no, he will give his judgment. No one can speak any nonsense in front of him. But when he goes home, then you see he's always with his children, with his wife, with his family. He's very relaxed. No. So this is this very aspect of sweetness is like that. It draws everyone's hearts. So here, in the material world, Aishwarya is more influential than Madhurya. But in the spiritual world, it is opposite. Here in the material world, if someone is very rich, he is very opulent, then people will automatically be attracted by him. You know? If there's a very famous personality, very rich, and people say, oh, he's that person. He's one of the world's richest men. But in the spiritual world, it is the opposite. Their opulence is not given as much attention as much as Madhurya. Because the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. No, there's a tree, and the tree has its shadow, then what happens? If the reflection of the tree is seen on the water, then you will see that the tree is upside down in the surface of the water. Means all the branches of the tree, they are down, and the root of the tree is up. Similarly, the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. Whatever is high here is low there, and whatever is high there is low here. Like in the material world, Shantaras is very prominent. What is yoga? Yoga means Shantaras. Everyone in this world is practicing yoga. Why? They want to be happy, they want to be peaceful, they want to be calm, they want to make their minds very calm. But in the spiritual world, Shantaras is the lowest of all rasas. Oh, Shanta is the lowest. There is Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. But here Shanta is the highest. Like here you see especially, like Parakya Bhav is very condemned. Here if a lady is going to meet, if a lady is already married and she's going to meet another man, that is very shameful for that lady. So it's very like debased here, it means very low. But in the spiritual world, that same Parakya Bhav is the highest form of prem, Krishna prem, is Parakya Ras, highest form. So everything is opposite here in the material world. So, but Madhurya is superior and more influential than Aishwarya in every respect. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, oh my dear devotees, all of you just deliberate upon Aishwarya one time, and then afterwards lovingly bring sentiments of Madhurya into your hearts. By doing so, you will be able to understand this truth. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that all of you must yourself consider, think deeply within your hearts. What is more superior, Aishwarya or Madhurya? But Bhaktivinoda Thakur is also saying, don't jump directly to Madhurya. Also, you gain a good understanding of Aishwarya. Then you will know what is Madhurya. Or else you're only thinking about sweetness of Krishna, then how are you qualified? Also think about his opulence. That should be the platform, the foundation. And on that foundation, you have to think about his Madhurya, his sweetness. Just as in the material world, when the sun rises and consumes the moonlight, similarly, when a taste of the sweetness of Madhurya appears, he no longer finds Aishwarya to be tasteful. When the sun rises, what happens? It covers the moon. The rays of the moon are no longer seen when the rays of the sun are seen. The rays of the moon are only seen during night, not during the day. Similarly, Madhurya is like this. When Madhurya appears, then it completely covers Aishwarya in every respect. Like Gurudev gives an example. He says, let's say you have like 100 kilos of salt. And let's say you have 100 kilos of sugar. So if you mix the 100 kilos of salt and 100 kilos of sugar, then what will you taste? You taste something which is very salty and sweet at the same time. But let's say you have 100 kilos of salt and you have 1000 kilos of sugar. Then when you mix that 100 kilos of salt with 1000 kilos of sugar, then you'll see the saltiness, the taste, the saltiness will reduce. And then you say, let's say you have 100 kilos of salt and you mix it with 10,000 kilos of sugar. Then what will happen? The saltiness will reduce even more. Then if you mix that 100 kilos of salt in like 100,000 kilos of sugar, then what will happen? The very taste of salt will be finished. You'll no longer be able to taste that salt. Although the salt is present in the sugar. Then let's say you mix that 100 kilos of salt in like 1 million kilos of sugar. Where is the salt? Completely gone. There is no saltiness whatsoever. No. This way, Aishwarya is like that. Like in Golok Vrindavan, it is said that the combined opulence of all the Vaikuntha planets is present in Golok Vrindavan. The combined opulence. Don't think that this Aishwarya is any less in Golok Vrindavan. Combined opulence of all the Vaikuntha planets is present. But still, even if you combine all the opulence of Vaikuntha, that opulence of Vaikuntha is not equal to the opulence of even a dust particle in Vrindavan. Even a particle of dust in Vrindavan has more opulence than the opulence of all of Vaikuntha. The Chintamani jewels in Vaikuntha, they're used by the gopis as ankle belts. No, they used to cover their feet. So we see. So, in Rupa Goswami has said in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Siddhantatastha Vedapi Shirisha Krishna Sarupayo Rasanat Krishna Te Krishna Rupa Mesha Rasasthiti. So although from Tattva, Narayana and Krishna are the same, still from Rasa Tattva, Krishna is more exact. So this was a discussion that Mahaprabhu had with Gopal Bhatta Goswami's father, Yankat Bhatta, when he went to Sri Ranga. Yankat Bhatta was a worshipper of Lakshmi Narayana. And Mahaprabhu said, if that is the case, if Lakshmi Narayana are the topmost reality, then why is it that Lakshmi Devi herself wants to serve Krishna? No. Kasyana Bhava Deva Vidmahi Tavan Renu Sparshadikara Shri Larana Acharani Tapo. So you see, her Shri Devi herself is performing so many austerities in day one to achieve the lotus foot dust of Krishna. But still it is not sure if she has achieved it or not. Why? Because the Sthai Bhava of Lakshmi Devi is already fixed. Sthai Bhava means the permanent sentiment that every jiva has in his heart. Right now our Sthai Bhava has not manifested, it is covered. But for Lakshmi Devi, Uddhav, Narada, their Sthai Bhava has already manifested completely. So it is very difficult for them to give up that Sthai Bhava and engage in service of Krishna. Now, when Krishna appeared before Lakshmi Devi, he said, all right, you can enter the Ras Leela, but you have to give up your identity as being the wife of Narayana. Don't think you're Narayani anymore. Rather, you should marry some Gopa and you should think of yourself as a Kalini, as a cowherd lady, cowherd woman. But Lakshmi Devi said, how can I give up my identity? as the wife of Narayan, I cannot do so. And Krishna said, all right, if that is the case, then you cannot enter the Rasa. Why? Because the sthai bhav is already fixed, it's sthai. Sthai means what? Permanent. Bhav means emotion. They have permanent emotions within their hearts that cannot be washed away. Therefore, it is said that although Narayan and Krishna are the same, but still Krishna is more attractive. When the gopis were feeling so much separation from Krishna, near Chandrasarovar, there is one place called Petagaon. There is a very beautiful deity of Krishna. It is Petagaon. Very beautiful. There Krishna is present as Chaturbuj Narayan. He is present in his 400 form. So in this village, very beautiful Leela happened. When Krishna left the Rasa dance, then the gopis, they went looking for Krishna. And then what happened? Krishna, he appeared as Narayan in front of the gopis in his 400 form. But when the gopis saw him as Narayan, what did they do? Oh, they just offered their pranams. They said, oh, Narayan. They said, can you kindly tell us in which direction our Krishna is? See, they asked. They only asked him where Krishna is. They didn't care even if he was Narayan himself. Then, as Narayan, Krishna said, okay, he's in that direction, you go to the gopis. But as soon as Radharani came, and as soon as the fragrance coming from Radharani's, not even from Radharani's body, from her cloth, as soon as the fragrance coming from Radharani's cloth entered inside Krishna's nose, then what happened? His two hands entered inside his stomach, pet. In Hindi, they call the stomach as pet. And because these two hands entered inside his stomach, since then the village is called Petagaon. It is a place where the two hands of Krishna entered inside. And Krishna regained his original form as Rajendra Nandan Shamsundar. So this is his topmost form. As Dvibhuj Murlidhar, Natavar Nandakishore. This, when he's always playing on his Murli, on his flute, standing in his Tribanga Lalita form, bending in three places, underneath the Kadamba tree. This is his eternal form, most beautiful form. So here, therefore, from the point of view of Tattva, they're the same, but still, from Vasagat Vichar, there is some difference. Now it is essential to understand that the favorable cultivation of activities meant to please Krishna is the sole intrinsic characteristic of bhakti. So here, this Anya Vilashita Shunyam verse means what? What is the Swarup Lakshana? The Swarup Lakshana means the cultivation of those activities by one's body, mind and words which are very favorable for Krishna. Especially Krishna, not even Narayan Vaikuntha, not even Ram, not even Nrsimha, only onto the lotus feet of Krishna. And when we speak of Krishna, not even Dwarkadish Krishna, not even Mathuranath Krishna, Rajendra Nandan Shamsundar Krishna. Only that form of devotion which is flowing continuously at the lotus feet of Krishna, that is pure bhakti. Avichinna Tailada Dharavat means, you see, if you have a bottle of oil and you pour that bottle of oil on the ground, then what will happen? The stream of oil that is flowing from the jar is continuous and unbroken. If you pour it, the oil is flowing very smoothly, or honey. There is no breakage, there is no obstruction. Similarly, pure bhakti means all your activities and your sentiments, they are flowing at the lotus feet of Krishna without any interruption. Uninterruptedly they are flowing. And at the lotus feet of whom? Rajendra Nandan Shamsundar. In Dwaraka, Krishna is Purna. In Mathura, he is Purnatar, more complete. And in Braj, he is Purnatam. He is most complete in Braj. And even in Braj, Krishna has three forms. Until he is 3 years old, it is called his Balya form. He is a baby. And from 3 to 7, it's his Paubandha form. He is present in his boyhood form. And from 7 to 11, he is present in his Kaishor form, in his youthful form. And even his Kaishor form has three divisions. There is Adi Kaishor, Madhya Kaishor, and Shesh Kaishor. Means like he's just beginning to blossom into his youthfulness, and then there's the intermediate stage, and then there's the culmination of his youthfulness. So in Braj especially, he's in this Kaishor form. In which form? where gradually he's blossoming into youthfulness, but he's not yet fully a youth. Because when he goes to Dwaraka, there he is like a complete youth. There he is no longer in his teenage years. So this is the form which is topmost in approach. And it is onto this form that Anya-Bilashita Shunyam Bhakti should be cultivated onto. And this is pure Bhakti. This is the Sarup Lakshana. To remain devoid of desires, separate from the desire to please Krishna, is free from the coverings of Gyan and Karma. And this is the Tathastha Lakshana. So this we know. That Bhakti should be completely devoid of Gyan and Karma. But here you see, Rupa Goswami said, Anya-Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Anavrit means it should be uncovered. But he could have also said Jnana Karmadi Shunyam. Why did he say Jnana Karmadi Anavritam? He could have just said that Bhakti should be completely bereft of Karma and Jnana. Why did he say that Bhakti should not be covered by Karma and Jnana? Because without Karma and Jnana, how can you even survive in this world? You cannot even survive. No. Like every breath you're taking to maintain your life here, that is also karma. Like every breath. You're taking a deep breath. And when you're exhaling, that is also karma. How can you deny that? When you're sleeping, that is karma. When you're resting, that is karma. When you're walking on the street, that is karma. When you're eating something, that is karma. So if you deny karma, then how can you even live for one moment in this world? And what is Gyan? Gyan means who you are, who you identify yourself as. Without Gyan, how can you even work in this world? If you even want to read a book, you must have some Gyan. If you want to listen to something, you must have some knowledge. Without this knowledge, how can you proceed even an inch in this world? So therefore, this karma and Gyan is required, but not so much that it covers bhakti. Therefore, Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. This bhakti should be uncovered by karma and Jnana. Or else if it becomes covered, then what is it? It is Karma Mishra Bhakti. Then it is Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Then it is not pure Bhakti. Therefore, Rupa Goswami said, Anya-Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. And here he said, Anya-Bilashita. Ishita means what? Anya-Bilashita means even under extraordinary circumstances, if the associates of Krishna call out to Krishna in ways that may seem to be unfavorable, still it is pure bhakti. For example, when Draupadi was in the assembly in Hastinapur, then what were the Kauravas doing? This Dushasan, he was trying to make Draupadi naked. And then Draupadi, she called out to Krishna. First she was looking at the Pandavas, and the Pandavas couldn't do anything. Then she was looking at Bhishma and Drona, they couldn't do anything. Then Draupadi was looking at her father-in-law, Dhritarashtra, he couldn't do anything. Then finally Draupadi, she held to this sari, she was holding on to this sari by her teeth, by her strength, by her teeth. And still Dushasana was trying to pull. Then finally she surrendered to Krishna. She said, oh Govinda, please keep my chastity intact. And as she raised her two hands, then Krishna, he appeared and he covered her with the sari. So here one may say that why Draupadi called out to Krishna in this way? This is not pure bhakti. She is only calling out to Krishna for her own selfishness, so that her chastity can be protected, her body can be protected. But Rupa Goswami says even this is pure bhakti. Because this is an extraordinary circumstance. Under such an extraordinary circumstance, it is okay to call out to Bhagavan. It is not selfishness. Like sometimes we see in Bandir 1, when the Sakhas are playing with Krishna, then some servants of Kamsa, what do? They set the entire forest on fire. On all four sides. When they went to this place called Munja Tavi. Munja Tavi means where these Munja crane, these Munja weeds. These are like very long weeds. They can easily be set on fire. They are very combustible. So when the servants of Kamsa set fire to this forest, and all the Sakhas, they were thinking, now what to do? They all started calling out to Krishna, oh Krishna, save us. And Krishna, he appeared and he swallowed the entire fire. He swallowed it. So then one may say, why did the Sakhas call out to Krishna in this way? If Prahlad himself is not calling out, you see Prahlad, his father was torturing him in so many ways. He threw him from the top of the mountain. He threw him in a pot of boiling oil. He had him trampled by elephants. He had him bitten by snakes. He had him thrown inside the ocean. He had him given poison. He gave poison to him, Kalkut wish. But still Prahlad did not call out to Krishna. He just like, he thought what is going to happen is meant to happen. So then they can say that Prahlad, if he is not calling out, then why is Draupadi calling out? And why are the Sakhas calling out to Krishna? If Prahlad himself is not doing so. But still, even so they're calling out to Krishna, it is pure bhakti. Because if you consider Prahlad's devotion to Draupadi, then whose devotion is greater? Draupadi's devotion. No? Draupadi is the dear Sakhi of Krishna. Krishna feels so much indebted to Draupadi. But will Krishna ever feel indebted to Prahlad? And if you compare Prahlad and the Brajavasis, then Prahlad himself is thinking, how can I take the foot dust of the Brajavasis? He himself wants to take the foot dust of the Brajavasis and put it on him. So therefore this is Anya Vilashita. Very special circumstance. So to remain devoid of desires is this Tatastha Lakshana. Vishnu Bhakti Pravakshami Yaya Sarvam Avapyate. In this half verse from Bhakti Sandarbha, the marginal characteristics of Bhakti are reviewed. Its meaning is that by the practice of Vishnu Bhakti, the living entity can attain everything. The desire to attain something is called Abhilashita. From the word Abhilashita, one should not derive the meaning that the desire to progress in Bhakti and ultimately reach its perfectional state is also to be rejected. No. So here Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying a devotee may have this desire. Oh, how can I progress in Bhakti? How can I achieve perfection? How can I achieve Siddhi? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that this desire is very good. Don't think that you must not even have this desire. Oh, I don't want to have this desire also to advance in Bhakti. Oh, I don't want to have this desire to achieve perfection in Bhakti. Even this is Anyamilashita. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, no, this desire is very good. Rupa Goswami said, no, Utsah Nishcha Dhairya Tat Karma Pravartana. Sato Vritti Sangatyaga. Here we see, here is saying that you need to have Utsah, Dhairya, Nishchay. No, you need to have enthusiasm. Similarly, if a devotee is very enthusiastically cultivating this desire, Sangatyaga Sato Vritti Sarve Bhakti Prasiddhati. Then this way his bhakti is always flourishing more and more. So this desire is very good. Thinking that, oh, I want to advance in bhakti, I want to achieve perfection. One is thinking, oh, by sadhana I'll achieve bhav, and by bhav I'll achieve prem. This is also very good desire. You should not tell that person, oh, this desire is very bad, that you should not advance in bhakti. No. This is highly commendable for a devotee to maintain such a desire. But apart from this desire, all other types of desires are fit to be rejected. No, one may even have other desires, but if they are not conducive to pure bhakti, then they should also be rejected. No? Like sometimes Gurudev would even say, if a person is thinking, I want to build a beautiful temple, and he said, even this will become Anyamilashita. He said, first you make your heart into a temple. No, a devotee may think, oh, I want to build a beautiful temple, I want to collect lakhs of rupees, I want to do this, I want to do that. But ultimately the devotee, he may be building a very beautiful temple for his own pratishtha. And he'll think people will come, they will praise me, they will do this, that. The results are not Anyamilashita. The Goswamis didn't have any temple. The Goswamis would sleep under every different tree, not even under the same tree. Because they were thinking, if we will sleep under the same tree, then we'll become attached to that tree. So they would sleep under different trees. So where is the question of a temple for them? So according to Adhikar, one should have desires, not beyond one's Adhikar. So here, this desire is very good. And there are two types of desires, the desire for sense gratification, mukti, and the desire for liberation, mukti. Rupa Goswami says, Bhukti mukti spriha javat, pisachi hridi vartate, tavat bhakti sukasyatra tatam abhyudayo bhave. So Rupa Goswami is saying that even the desire for liberation, the desire for bhoga, enjoyment, these two desires are like great pishachis, means like great witches. What does a witch do? She controls you, she takes possession of you, she possesses you, and she makes you act according to her desire. So similarly, these two desires are also like this. It is important to note, he is not saying that bhakti and mukti are like witches. He is saying the desire for mukti is like very bad, but not mukti itself is very bad. So as long as the two desires for bhakti and mukti remain in a devotee's heart, then not even a fraction of pure happiness from Swarup Siddha Bhakti will arise. One will not relish any happiness in his heart from Swarup Siddha Bhakti. Both Bodily and material enjoyment are considered bhukti. No, to enjoy by your body, also to enjoy by your mind. This is also bhukti. No? Why do people take drugs? No? Right now in this world, you see, the biggest problem is that the youth are taking so much drugs. They're taking heroin, they're taking cocaine, no, they're taking this opium, then ganja, marijuana, so many things. This is a big problem in society. Even now in India, there is one state called Punjab. In Punjab, 90% of the young boys are taking drugs. And they're trying in so many ways to make people free of these drugs. Why? Because by taking these drugs, one is like getting like some hallucinations. He's hallucinating and he's getting some happiness within his mind. This is also very bad, no? Because he's trying to please his mind in a very subtle way. So all these kinds of desires, they're stemming from which reason? They're coming from where? Because of this desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. No? All these bodily and mental forms of happiness. No? So to make an extraneous effort to remain free from disease, or to desire palatable food, strength, power, wealth, followers, wife, children, fame, they're all considered bhukti. See here, even the desire to be free from disease is also bhukti. See here. So, even sometimes we may think, no, oh, I'll do some exercise, then I won't get any disease, this, that. Like once, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he was telling Gurudev that, oh Maharaj, sometimes I'm doing some exercises, some yoga, to keep myself fit, to keep myself healthy. And he says sometimes I'm playing Prabhupada's classes in the background. No, I'm playing Prabhupada's classes and exercises. Like 1 hour a day, 1.5 hours a day. Gurudev said, why are you wasting so much time in exercises? The best kind of exercise is during kirtan, you're nicely singing and dancing. And you're jumping as high as you can. That is the best kind of exercise. What need is there for anything else? Gurudev told me. So even that kind of desire is bhakti, desire for enjoyment. Of course, one is doing exercise, ultimately thinking at least like little exercise, that oh, this way my body will be fit and I can render some service. Or else if one does exercise and the body becomes fit, then what will happen? One will only want to enjoy more. So to desire to take one's birth in a Brahmin family or in a royal family, to attain residence in heaven or in Brahmaloka, or to obtain any type of happiness in one's next life is also considered bhakti. So one may think, I want to be born as a pious Brahmin in my next life. I want to be born in Brahmaloka. I want to be like Brahma. I want to go to heaven. I want to be born in a very rich family. All these kinds of things are bhakti, enjoyment. Practice of the Eightfold Yoga system and to desire the 18 kinds of mystic perfections are also bhakti. Now, what are the 8 kinds of mystic perfections? You can become smaller than the smallest living entity, and you can become larger than the largest living entity. You can walk on water, you can float in the air, you can do so many things. These are all bhakti. There are some yogis who leave their body in one place, and by their astral body, by their subtle body, they go to different planets. There are such kind of yogis also. They don't need to go in any spacecraft. By their subtle body, they go to all the different planets. There are some yogis who are so powerful that when the Ganga is meeting the ocean, at time the Ganga doesn't really meet the ocean. She flows beneath the earth as Bhogavati. And there are some yogis who go with the flow of the Ganga and they go down with the Ganga and they listen to Harikatha from Anandashesh in Patal. There are also such kind of yogis, very powerful yogis. This kind of yoga is good. At least they want to listen to Harikatha from Anandashesh. But the other kind of yogis, what do? They go to different planets and they try to become more and more powerful. This is also like bhakti. So see Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's laying it down. He's saying what you should do, what you should not do. The greed for bhakti forces the living entity to become subordinate to lust, anger and the other enemies. Envy easily takes over the heart. Now if you see someone else enjoying and if you cannot enjoy as much, then you will become envious. You'll think, oh, he's so wealthy, I'm not so wealthy. Or he has a beautiful wife, I don't have a beautiful wife. Become envious. Or he has so much happiness in his life. I am not so happy, I am miserable, becoming enemies. So naturally envy will take part. Hence, to attain unalloyed devotion, one has to remain completely aloof from the desire for bhakti. To abandon the desire for bhakti, a conditioned soul need not reject the objects of the senses by going to reside in the forest. Merely going to reside in the forest or accepting the dress of a sannyasi will not free one from the desire for bhakti. One may think, I'll go to the forest and meditate there on Bhagavan. I'll just take sannyas and go there. But even this will not help one. You see, in Bihar, there is one river called the Falgu Nadi. This Falgu Nadi, if you see from the top, it is very dry. It has a dry riverbed. The river cannot be seen. But then, if you keep your hand inside, then you will see that there's actually water flowing beneath the sand. Although the river is covered by sand, still it is flowing. Similarly here, one may think, I'm giving up all desires, I'm going to the forest. But still within his heart, he has so many material desires. And he's only pretending to be a sannyasi. How is that helpful for him? If bhakti resides in a devotee's heart, then even while living amidst the objects of the senses, he will be able to remain detached from them. So see here, Bhaktivinoda is saying for a devotee, even if he is surrounded by all sense objects, he will always be detached. He will never be attached in any way. Like there's one nice story. Once one disciple, he hears Swami Maharaj, one very nice watch. And Swami Maharaj, he would wear this watch and he would go everywhere, like on his morning walk. So then, because this devotee was very sentimental, he was thinking, oh, I bought a nice watch, a Rolex watch, very expensive. I want my Prabhupada to wear this Rolex watch. So he was very adamant, Prabhupada, please, please. And Prabhupada said, all right, then. So then, when Swami Maharaj would go on a morning walk, there would be a thief. He will always look at this watch. And he would think of, how can I get this watch? Steal it off him. So then what did he do? He joined the temple. And he started serving all the devotees. So he could get the watch. You told me the story here. Someone else told me here. So he was always thinking, oh, how can I get this watch of Swami Maharaj? How can I get it? And then after some time, he became so purified by being in the association of the devotees that he fell at the feet of Prabhupada. And he said, oh, Prabhupada, I actually joined the temple to steal that watch of you. Oh, please forgive me, please forgive me. And Swami Maharaj was just laughing. And he said, okay, no, I'm forgiving you. And here, take this watch also. He gave the watch here. So he said, Swami Maharaj said, I'm not attached to any of these things. It's because these devotees are troubling me so much. They say, oh, wear this watch, you do this, you do that. Only to please them, to make them advance in bhakti, to encourage them, I wear such things. Also, I have no need. No, when Gurudev would go to see Swami Maharaj in his Radha Damodar temple, Swami Maharaj he would wear torn clothes sometimes. He didn't even have an extra piece of cloth to give to Gurudev. And Gurudev would use his own chadar as an asana and he would sit there. Such a Nishkinchan Vaishnava Swami Maharaj was. No. Nishkinchan Akinchan. So even if he gets all the opulence of this world, will it make any difference to him? No difference whatsoever. He only accepts certain opulence of this world to encourage his disciples more and more. So similarly here also, Rupa Goswami is saying that all the devotees surrounded by all the objects of gratification, he will never be attracted by them. This is called Chukta Vairagya. So we'll discuss Chukta Vairagya tomorrow in these all questions. So Shri Bhakti-tattva-viveka ki jai. Thakur Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Shri Hridaya Prabhupada Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Rupanukarya Guru Bhargava ki jai. Sabarsha Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Nitai Gaur